Hi Stampers, welcome to Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. I am so excited to talk to you about today's video, but also some upcoming videos. I have decided that I'm going to do a series of 6 videos, and these videos will all feature the wonderful designer series paper, Fresh as a Daisy. Each of the videos will feature one sheet of designer series paper and an easy 12 by 12 one sheet wonder. So in total, we'll be making 48 cards from 6 sheets of designer series paper. That's just half a pack of designer series paper. There will be 6 sets of cards. Each set will be different, not only because the designer series paper sheet will be different for that video, but also because I'll be sharing a different one sheet wonder. Now, keep in mind that all of the one sheet wonders you are going to see are meant to be ones that are easy for you to replicate with other favorite designer series papers. So let's get started. For the first of the series of 6 videos featuring the Fresh as a Daisy 12 by 12 designer series paper and one sheet wonders, we're going to be making these 9 cards today. The first thing we need to do is cut our designer series paper. I'm going to cut this 12 by 12 sheet of DSP into 9 4-inch squares. So I'm going to cut at 4 inches and then again at the 4-inch mark. Then I'm going to stack these pieces of designer series paper. If you are more comfortable cutting each of the pieces individually, by all means do that. If you own the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, you will find that you are able to cut 3 pieces of designer series paper with ease. So there's 3 4x4 squares, another 3, oops, make sure my edges are even. Another 3 make 6, and the last 3 make 9. Now, I have already prepared my card bases using Pretty Peacock cardstock. Each card base measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and it's scored in the middle at 5 1/2 on the long side. Cutting your cardstock this way, this size, you still get 2 A2 size cards from each piece of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. So your finished cards will be 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, which is standard A2 card size. You'll want to go over those score lines with your bone folder. Give them a really good crease. That one was already done. Next, I've pre-cut 9 pieces of basic white designer series paper. Each of these measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And I'm going to use these for the inside of my card bases. I tend to put the inserts for my cards in first before I decorate the card front. I guess that's so I don't forget to do it. And if you would like to stamp an image or sentiment on the inside of your card, of course you'll want to do that before you adhere the pieces to the inside of your card base. Well, we're working with just the one piece of designer series paper today, and in each of the 6 videos, you will find that all of the sheets of DSP in the Fresh as a Daisy DSP pack are loaded with bright, bold colors. You'll find all of our newest in colors in the paper pack as well. So copper clay, wild wheat, moody mauve. What am I missing? There's shades of boho blue and also the Azure Afternoon, which is one of our new core colors. And which one am I forgetting? Oh, Petaled Path, the wonderful Petaled Path. Kind of a, I'll call it a taupey gray or a dark taupe. Now I'm going to adhere my 4x4 squares cut from that one sheet of designer series paper to the top of each of my card bases. And I'm doing it so that I have an even border around the left, top, and right sides of that designer series paper. Whether you're following along or going to make these or similar cards later, it's a great way for you to build up your stash of handmade cards. You can put the same sentiment on all of them, or you can vary the sentiments for whatever occasions you need coming up. Or you can hold off putting any sentiments on, and excuse me, you can hold off on putting any sentiments on and add them later as you need the cards and are ready to use them. This is also a good way to make a set of cards that you can give as a gift, maybe as a thank you, expression of gratitude for a birthday gift, to surprise a coworker, teacher gifts. Retirement, saying keep in touch. Somebody's moving and you want to gift them with a set of cards to keep in touch with you. Next, I'm going to add a bright splash of color. I've cut strips of crushed curry cardstock that measure 4 inches by 1/4 inch. 4 inches by 1/4 inch. And I'm going to put just a very narrow line of multi-purpose glue below the designer series paper square. And I'm going to adhere that strip right up to that square. And I'll repeat that on the other 8 card bases. This Fresh as a Daisy DSP makes me think of summer. And being that we're in the middle of May already, true summer is really not too far off. Of course, with the colors in this particular DSP, I can see using these cards in the fall as well. I think the Copper Clay and the Pretty Peacock and even this Crushed Curry kind of lend themselves to fall colors. You'll find that this one sheet wonder, cutting 12 by 12 sheet of DSP into 9 4-inch squares, and also keeping my card layout simple, that you can easily use this one sheet wonder over and over and over again, which is my preference. I prefer to have one sheet wonders that will make me a nice set of cards, but aren't terribly time consuming or even complicated card designs. And typically I never make just one card at a time. So I love one sheet wonders for that reason. Next, we need to do a little stamping. I am using these pre-cut tailored tag dies, and I'm going to stamp this sentiment, wishing you the brightest birthday. I'm going to stamp with my Pretty Peacock ink. I know many of you are just as happy as I am that Pretty Peacock is back as part of our core collection of colors. It was a previous in color several years back. Oops, I got 2 of those stuck together. If your tags or whatever you're stamping stick to your stamp like that, I just like to put the tip of my finger or fingernail right there on the edge of the cardstock, and it just drops down. And it does so without smearing any of that ink I just put on. And 2 more. There we are. Now I'm grabbing my dimensionals. You can also see that I'm working in somewhat of an assembly line production, meaning that I do the same step of the card on all 9 before I move on to the next set. I just find that when you're making several cards, this makes you much more efficient with your time. And if there's one thing we all need, is more time. So why not save a little time while we can by working in an assembly line method. Now I'll add these sentiments to my 9 card fronts. I'm going to add them at an angle. Right across where I put the crushed curry cardstock strip. Whoops. If you've got any small children hanging out with you, I can tell you from experience, kids love to put dimensionals on things for you. So if you want to make them feel a part of the process or give them a little job, that's a good one. Of course, whatever tag you use or banner or shape for your sentiment will depend on the sentiment you choose. The one I'm using is from the Cheerful Daisies bundle. Now for my final touch, I've made some just simple knots with the copper clay ribbon. And I put each of them on one mini glue dot. So I'm just going to pull those off my strip. This is another very handy tip. If you are making a lot of knots or bows or something like that, or you have maybe some tiny punched or die cut pieces to add, you can lay them out on a strip of glue dots just like this. I will often do things like this when I'm going to be traveling, but I want to take a little project with me, maybe to do when I'm sitting waiting in an airport or on a long car trip, something like that, or I'm someplace where I know I'll have some free time. That way you don't have to take your whole bolt of ribbon and the scissors and a roll of mini glue dots. You do some of those steps ahead of time. So there are our 9 birthday cards for today from one sheet of the wonderful Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper. Please tune in for my next video in which I'll showcase a different sheet of the Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper and a different one sheet wonder with a whole new set of cards. Happy stamping!